Today it's tea for two. To Miss Martinez, second day of student teaching. Cheers, everyone. Do you want to tell everybody what tea we're drinking today, Miss Martinez? Do you remember? Do you know what type of tea it is?
We had some really delicious green tea. I don't know if you guys have drank green tea before. If you have, let us know. But I love green tea. And Mr. Edelman, what was the name of the green tea again?
The specific name of the green tea that we're drinking is called Anji Bai Cha. It's a very premium Anji Bai Cha. It's my favorite green tea. So when Miss Martinez said that she liked green tea, I decided to bring in some of my favorite green tea.
Very good. Just feel lighter, healthier.
It's a good summer tea, or I guess like a spring tea. I even got, look, I got my fancy Gaiwan. I haven't used one of these in a while. I've been I've been much more reliant on my smart bottle. I'm getting lazy with the smart bottle. Ray, good morning. Ray, what are you drinking this morning? Anything delicious? Some iced tea? Iced tea is good. I like iced tea. I make my own iced tea, as you could probably imagine. I wish there was smell-o-vision. I wish you could smell through this computer. Ugh, I'm telling you. That's the best thing that you do. You brew the tea in a little ceramic container. It gives off the best smell.
It smells like, at first, it smelled like asparagus.
She's only saying that because that's what I said it smelled
No,
like. I
it
biased you. If I didn't tell you what I thought it smelled like, you would have never said asparagus.
smells like very greenery, like very greenery leaf or vegetable.
It is
But
vegetal. It's vegetal. Yeah.
when you taste it, it tastes good. Very light.
Yeah. I mean, I think the asparagus I came up with on my own, but usually like when you drink these teas, they come up with like taste profiles, and it's so funny like some of the things that people compare the taste to. But like this green tea is like yeah, I think asparagus or like freshly cut grass.
Starlin, are you at the gym today?
That was awesome. Starlet, that was the first time that someone did a show and tell live from the gymnasium. So actually, I think Amy once did one. She was driving in the car with her dad and also did a show and tell, which was very, very cool. If you guys are out, like if you're out and about in the world, like don't keep that to yourself. Let us know. That is fun and exciting. That would be interesting. I'm not going to hold it against you. I promise. As long as you're logged in, you're attending, you're participating. I'm not taking off points if you are, I don't know, somewhere outside your house. It would be nice. I would love to know what you guys are up to. I think it might explain a lot also. I think it would also offer some explanation. And, that's always nice as well. Well, I'm confused. Is that for me, Ray? Oh, or are you talking to Starlin? Yeah, what? Yeah, me or yeah, Starlin? Okay. El Haji! Let's give El Haji a round of applause. El Haji did an impromptu show and tell performance yesterday, which was awesome, 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 awesome. And Alhaji, you can go on to Pupil Path. You'll see your extra credit points that have been thrown your way. Extra credit drop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, people, take a look at this question I have for you. This is a nice review of all things fiscal policy. It's also a nice little practice problem as it comes from last year's AP exam. Take a look at the graph, take a look at the four choices, and don't be bashful. Let us know in the chat what you think the answer is and why. I love it when our learning coincides with directly the end of a song that we're listening to. It's a perfect segue. Let me know if you'd like some more tea, by the way. Feel free to. Well, let me brew this first. I have to brew it. All right. Brewing it up. There's tea in the pot. If you see something on this chart that you don't remember, I mean, you are in front of a computer, feel free to Google it. Or feel free to type it into the chat as well. You can let us know. Like, you should know what entitlements is. That was one of your vocabulary terms. It's something that we've talked about. It's connected to budget challenge as well. So the other line, defense, I'm quite certain you guys don't need a definition for that. But if there's something that you're confused about, let us know as well, so we can work through this together. Miss Martinez, you did a great job with this yesterday. If by all means, feel free to politely pick on some students if you want to call on someone, or if there's like a scaffolding question that you want to ask that connects to it, by all means, you are most welcome to do that. Sometimes we have to coax this class into additional participation. Of course, Isaac. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here together. Go for it.
Wait, mister, did you put in the grades?
Which grades? The extra credit?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got extra credit points.
Oh, it wasn't there, so I was just
Oh, it
asking.
is. It most definitely is in schedule, and then for you, it's pupil path. Take a look. It's under
All right.
where it says extra credit.
All right.
Isaac says two. Two says entitlement spending has steadily become a larger portion of the federal budget. What do other people think? Thank you, Isaac, for taking the lead on this question. It's greatly appreciated. What's everybody else's thoughts? Do you agree? Are you on board with Isaac? Do you see something else? And what's your explanation for maybe Isaac, you can share, why did you select two? What do you see here in the graph that made you select two as the correct choice? Maybe we can hear from Eileen. Maybe we can hear from Wendy. What's your thoughts? Ray says he agrees. He agrees with 2. It's about entitlement spending having a larger portion of the federal budget, and the black line represents the percent of entitlements. Correct, right? What is entitlement spending? Do you remember what that means, entitlement spending? What constitutes entitlement spending? Very, very good, Ray. Yes, mandatory spending. So I shouldn't beat around the bush, okay? I want you to fully understand and realize that you are correct. The answer is 2, okay? And again, even if you don't know what entitlement spending is, um, unlike Ray, who had like a great answer and said mandatory spending, again, this question is just seeing if you can interpret a graph. Okay, and you can see here the black line entitlement spending is steadily increasing, and so the answer is 2. Okay, but I just want to poke a little bit more and connect this back to some of the learning that we've done so far, and use it as an opportunity to review some of the concepts connected to fiscal policy. So Ray said that was mandatory spending. Now let me ask you this: do you remember what programs fall into mandatory spending? There were 3 things that made up mandatory spending. And 2 of them are entitlements. Do you remember any of them? Let me see if you can, what your thoughts are. And then I can put up a chart to help you if needed. But I think some of you remember. Think about to your pay stub. Yeah, what programs? What are some of the programs that make up mandatory spending? What constitutes mandatory spending? Social Security, very, very good. Beautiful. Social Security, boom. And what else? There was one other one. And Medicare. Great. You guys are amazing. The knowledge just sticks in your brain over spring break. Awesome. Okay, so again, here, this is our federal budget. So this is close to $3 trillion. And we said the bulk is mandatory spending. Health is the largest area of spending, which is mandatory, right? It's an entitlement. It comes out of your paycheck, right? When you get paid, you have to pay into Medicare, and then when you retire, you get those benefits from the government. Social Security is the second highest. Those 2, which are mandatory, make up more than half of the federal budget. Everything else is considered discretionary except for one more thing. Do you remember the 3rd thing? It's not listed on here, but we said that there was one other thing that was mandatory that the government spend money on, right? Like if the government decided they didn't want to spend any money on Homeland Security or any money on energy or science, right? They could vote to fund those things with $0 in the budget, okay? But there's one more area of spending that is mandatory. It's not an entitlement program, but it's mandatory. Not military. Again, military, all of this money is discretionary. If the US wanted to spend less on the military, they can. Ooh, we're going to talk about infrastructure very soon, Ray. I'm so glad you said infrastructure. But no, infrastructure is discretionary spending. The US does not have to spend any money on infrastructure if they so choose. It has to do with borrowing, people. Remember, the US government is borrowing $30 trillion, right? That's the national debt. So it connects to debt, Starlin. What is mandatory that you pay if you incur debt? Your federal withholdings will go to pay for this, right? The federal withholdings will go for paying for all of these things, including this last mandatory area of spending. Think, if you're borrowing money, right? If the US government's borrowing money, $30 trillion, what allows them to continue borrowing, which they have to pay? Close, Yocheved. It connects to loans. What allows you to be able to, what would allow somebody to loan you money? You know it, you know it, you know it. It begins with an I. Oh, Wendy got it. Yeah, interest. Interest on the debt, right? That is the third area of mandatory spending, is interest on the debt. Yes. Okay, so the government must pay Medicare by law, right? The government must pay Social Security by law. There's a Social Security Act. And they must pay interest on the national debt. Everything else is considered discretionary spending, including infrastructure. So thank you for that segue, Ray, because that's what we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about for a second. Now, I just want to ask you one more question. Going back to this chart, it says entitlement spending has steadily become a larger portion of the federal budget, right? Why is that? Why is entitlement spending going up? And again, we said entitlement spending is Medicare and Social Security. More money is being spent on those categories. Why is that? What is going on in America? Not the pandemic. That's a good guess, Wendy, but not the pandemic. It has to do with a more predictable, it's actually very predictable, a predictable long-term trend. The population of elderly people. I love your terminology, Starlin. It sounds like an academic book. The population of elderly people. You're 100% right, okay? America is getting older, people. We live in an old country. Have you ever gone to Florida? And you look around, it's like, that's where all the old people are. Or I moved from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, to I live in Forest Hills now. And I'm like, oh, there's old people. There are old people. Okay, America is getting older. You can see here, right? The percent of the population of adults over 65 is steadily increasing. Okay, and those people are going to need Medicare and Social Security. They're entitled to it. That's good news for them. Who is it bad news for? I'm pointing to Miss Martinez. I'm pointing to you guys. I'm pointing to you guys. Why is this bad news for you? Yeah, why is this bad news for everyone else, Ray? You're going to have to pay more. Yes. So those people that are working, are paying for retired people's health and Social Security. Now, we hope that when we're old people, our children and our grandchildren will pay for our health insurance and Social Security. That's the hope, that the younger generation pays for the older generation. But maybe that's not sustainable, especially when you have $30 trillion of debt. Maybe eventually we'll get to a point where we're not going to be able to borrow more, and no one's going to pay for our health insurance and Social Security when we're old and retired. That's the challenge, and that's a scary thing to think about. Similar to climate change, right? Right now, the sky is blue. It's nice and sunny outside, but will it stay that way, right? It's a significant long-term problem. Yocheved's crying. Okay, so that was a nice review. It's nice to see that you guys are so active in the chat and that you seem to remember a lot of the concepts that we've talked about so far this unit. Okay, so what are we doing today? Well, we did our multiple choice question. We have a headline of the day, which Ray actually already connected to, and then I'm going to give you some time to do some of the things that you need to do in Budget Challenge, including bills, quizzes, and most importantly, this retirement trophy that you hopefully are on pace for getting in 3 days. So your Budget Challenge retirement trophy, if you've saved enough into your 401k, will be issued on the 9th. So let's make sure that you are on pace to get your retirement trophy. Okay, so you have money saved on your own, even if you don't get Social Security because the government is bankrupt. You will still get your own 401k money for retirement. Okay, so today's headline of the day: Plan to rebuild infrastructure and reshape the economy. The president will begin selling his proposal on Wednesday, saying it would fix 20,000 miles of road, 10,000 bridges, while also addressing climate change and racial inequities in raising corporate taxes. And I thought this was interesting because it showed an example of something in New York City that might receive funding. Highways near South Street, Seaport, and Manhattan. President Biden is proposing to spend $2 trillion, another $2 trillion, and this is not part of the budget. This is like on top of the budget. Over 8 years on improving roads, bridges, and other infrastructure. So what's your thoughts on this? And do you have any other thoughts in terms of like how this money might be spent? Like what other things infrastructure-wise need to be improved in America? There's actually one which we've talked about a lot in the beginning of the class, connected to our Action Civics project. Could anybody think of another big infrastructure project that needs improvement that's connected to our class's Action Civics project? Yes. Why is that, Wendy? Remember this? Wendy, I think you actually spoke to this chart. I think you did like the first part of the presentation. This might have been like part of your part of the presentation that you shared. Right on. Okay. So the Biden administration has made the biggest promise to address the project of the problem of lead in its drinking water, compared to any other administration ever. Okay, and is looking to throw lots and lots of money at the problem to ensure both that these main water lines, right, that are municipal, that were built by cities across the country, right, that they are renovated to be lead free, and also probably to give subsidies to homeowners, right, or landlords to replace the service lines, because these service lines that lead into buildings and houses, again, those in many cases run under private property, and the government can't necessarily repair themselves, but they can give money to repair to. Okay, so they are looking to spend hundreds of billions of dollars and have promised to rectify 100% of the lead-based water lines in the United States. What's your thoughts on that? It sounds very promising. Is there anything that we should be concerned about? Yeah, what's the but? What's the big but here? I mean, all this stuff sounds really, really good. Who doesn't want new roads, bridges, tunnels, power plants? What's the big but? And it connects to the fiscal ship game that you played, right? What's the big but here? Yes, inflation and debt. Can we sustain it? Is this going to get America back on track? Is this something that we need? Or are we spending too much, right? That's the big question here, right? To what extent is debt good on a personal basis and on a governmental basis? To what extent is debt good? Okay, and this is something that we're going to be talking about for quite some time. And it's awesome to see like how what's going on in America right now, these big conversations and these big actions the government are taking are directly connected to what we're studying together. Okay, so we have some questions about how our federal government might be spending its money. let's make sure that at the very least your own personal finances are in order, okay? Because you can't, you again, you indirectly control what the government does, right? This is an example of indirect democracy. You don't get to decide on the budget, but we elect people that decide the budgets, but you control your own personal finances. Let's see what Isaac wrote. From the fiscal ship, I learned that if we don't invest in infrastructure, it could decrease the debt. Yes. I also learned how very angry the argument against this policy is. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Isaac. Okay, if you haven't already done so, navigate over to Budget Challenge. Should we take a look at the leaderboard? We can cheer out who's on, that maybe we have new individuals on the top 10. Here's period 1. So congratulations to Jade, Wilson, Eileen, Ray, Grace, Yasmiel, Wendy, Ryan, Kevin, and Shirley. You're our top 10. And regardless if I called your name out or not, you have the opportunity to ensure that you get your retirement trophy. So the first thing I want you to do is click Student Home. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hand my phone over to Miss Martinez. I'm going to ask her to do attendance for me. Yeah. And all you're going to do is if you see someone, okay, your attendance is being taken, and I'm going to show you some things in Budget Challenge. Click on Road Test. Saving for retirement. Look how close we are to that, getting that trophy, right? 3 days remaining. Click here. So how do you get this trophy? You have to contribute at least $1,000 retirement savings into your 401k. Do you know how much you've saved into your 401k yet? You should. And the reason why that you will get this trophy on the 9th is because on the 8th, you get your paycheck, right? And it's on the 8th is your last time to contribute more to your 401k if you need to contribute more to your 401k. So here's what you're going to do. Go to employer, go to 401k over here. Actually, just click on employer. It's better to see it this way. Okay? If you click on employer, you can go down, you can see your paychecks, and you can see how much money you're contributing to your 401k and how much your match is. Okay, so for instance, I'm contributing, I selected 15%, and that comes out to $209 that I'm contributing in my paycheck, plus with the employee match, that's 80 bucks. So every paycheck, I am putting away $290 into my 401k, okay? And so after 4 paychecks, I will have over $1,000. So I don't need to alter anything. I know that come my next paycheck, right? You can add that up, those contributions, and I know that I have $1,000. If you are contributing less than 15%, you might be off by a little bit. You might need to contribute more to your 401k. And again, that's something that you can always change, right? So you can go to contribution percent. That's something that you could change. I actually upped it a little bit to 20%. And I can clear that request if I want, okay? But if you need to, if you're not going to hit $1,000 come your next paycheck on the 8th, increase your contribution percent. And you need to do that before you get your paycheck, which would be on the 8th, okay? So you can take a look, you can figure it out, right? You can look at your gross pay. What percent of your gross pay do you need? What do you want to bump your 401k up to if you're not going to have $1,000 come the 8th? And again, then you'll get the trophy on the 9th. So that's one task that you have to do. You have some bills as well, right? You can look here. You got your apartment bill, an auto loan. This is a bank statement, that's not a bill. and you have a cable bill. All of those need to be set up as well. Okay? So those are your tasks. First, step one, make sure that you're contributing at least enough money that come on the 8th, you'll have $1,000 in your 401k. You can all get this trophy. If you're not going to have all you have to do is bump up your 401k contribution amount, right? Wendy, how much are you contributing to your 401k? What percentage? 7 is low. 2 is really low. Wendy, I would put it as high as you can. What's as high as you can put it? I would put it as high as you could. Put it to like 50%. No, you need to offset the fact that it's been at 2. If you've been at 2, you need to contribute as much as you can for this one paycheck. Yes. If you've only been contributing 2%, put your 401k at 50 and put a ton of money into your 401k this upcoming paycheck. Okay? You don't have to put 100%. Even, well, maybe, unless you've been at 0, maybe then you can put 100. Yeah. Okay. But again, take a look, see how much money you've contributed. If you've been at 15, you're good. You can leave it at 15. If you're less than 15, you'll probably need to increase it a little bit. If you're at 2%, you're going to have to contribute a lot. Okay, I'm also going to sign into the office hours link. Let me navigate over to that. So if you have questions, you could put your individual questions into the chat. But if you want to share your screen with me and you feel more comfortable doing that in the office hours link, we have about 20 minutes to work on this. And so you can come on over to the office hours link and I'm happy to help you with that as well. Nicole, yours was at 42 the whole time? Oh, you just did it now. Okay. Yeah, so after this one paycheck, you can move it back down. Yeah, so that's not a bad idea. I would put it to 42, and then after this paycheck, you can move it back to maybe like 10 or 15. And once could you click on whoever's not here and make sure that there's a little A over their name? You have to like triple click it or something. That's how we do attendance during virtual learning. It's actually a lot better. I wish that was always a thing. Better, more efficient than the bubble sheets. Okay. How do you change how much you contribute? Let me show you that one more time, right? So you go to employee. Over here, it says update your 401k contribution. Here, I'm just going to clear my request so I can actually show you how to do it. So see, right now it says I'm contributing 13%. Okay. I don't need to. I don't need to raise it, but I have the money to do so. It doesn't hurt to contribute more than 1,000. So I'm going to raise it to 20%. I'm going to click save. Okay. Boom.